Hi guys, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Inspired Life Vancouver. Each episode we bring you inspiring locals who are living their lives to the fullest, and I hope each interview inspires you. Right now, I'm so excited to welcome a Canadian actor who has traveled all over the world. He's lived in LA, he just got back from Japan, and we had to bring him on our show. I interviewed Aleks 10 years ago during a show, Life in Salvazar, that I was doing. And I said, before you travel anywhere, you need to come on my show. He's worked with Anthony Hopkins. He did this amazing project, Zero Contact. You must have seen him on so many American and Canadian shows. Like, there's not one show filmed in Vancouver that Aleks is not in. I'm talking about none other than Aleks Paunovic. Welcome.
That is the intro, man.
Because I'm so excited to have you
awesome.
here.
I'm going to put that on my reel.
I'm so excited to have you
I'm stoked
here.
to be here because it's been 10 years.
I know.
We did it in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. And you were so great. And when we were approached to actually do this again, I was just like, that's 10 years. It's our anniversary. Let's do it.
I know. And also, to see the trajectory of your career, Aleks, it is so inspiring to watch. You know, because people come in, they'll book some things here and there. Everyone comes to Vancouver, goes to LA with this thing of like, yeah, and then, you know, fizzle out. But as someone who's watched your career over the years, it is so inspiring for me. And I'm selfishly bringing you here to have this to get inspired by you personally and also our viewers, because I think these conversations that we have here, whether someone wants to be an actor or is an actor or any walk of life, I find you a very inspiring individual. So I want to backtrack a little bit. You were born in Winnipeg.
Born in Winnipeg. Born and raised in Winnipeg.
And you were a boxer and a musician.
Boxer, musician. So I have a boxing family. I have 3 generations of boxers. I've always boxed since I was a kid, but I never competed. I had a pretty strained relationship with my dad. So it was one of those things where it's like, you know, if I box, that means I have to hang out with him. And then the music thing happened and he had no interest in that. So that's what really drove me into the arts, was just trying to find my own feet and not be a part of the family dynamic. But as time went on, I couldn't help but get into boxing, and it actually made our relationship stronger. He became my trainer, and it was a timing thing, but it needed to be done. But I just fell in love with music. You know, my high school boys, we ended up touring all over the country. So it was a cool aspect of having boxing and the artistic aspect of it. And then the acting thing just came later.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the element of, like, you know, when you're boxing, you're in the ring with this audience.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're a musician, you know, you're like, I love your pictures with this long hair, yeah. You know, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the picture of you with Muhammad Ali,
yes.
Because you got to meet him and he was a hero of yours.
Oh my God, he's a hero of mine. I always tell people that he's like, you know, I know everything about his career. I've seen every documentary, every fight. And there's something about what he sacrificed for his art and for what he believed in. And I always feel like, you know, I had the chance to meet him and basically say to him, you were like my second dad because of how you conducted yourself in the world, not just in the ring. And it was an extremely emotional moment that I shared with him, along with Ben Ratner. Ben Ratner shared that moment with him too. And it was just really special. So yeah, just growing, you know, just trying to grow through the boxing, and there's a parallel to it. I discovered very quickly that, you know, with boxing, you have to be relaxed to be able to be in a fight with somebody. You can't be tight. You get tired. And it's all about repetition. And then getting into film and television, that's what the deal was. It's all about repetition. It's all about relaxing. And when I did my first play, I was so nervous opening night. I haven't done a play. I think there was like 300 people there.
That's Danny and the Deep Blue Sea.
Danny and Deep Blue Sea with Laurie Triolo, directed by Jason Good. And I was so nervous, and I went, oh my God, this is exactly what it feels like before a fight. So I just started shadow boxing, and all the nerves went away. And I was even, before that, I was even trying to remember the first line of the play because I was so nervous. Because I was so nervous, I couldn't remember the first line of the play while I was backstage getting ready. So I was getting even more nervous. And then I realized, oh, this is what it feels like. So I started shadow boxing, and all the lines came. And so the boxing taught me how to relax in a pressure situation. And I don't get punched in the face that way.
And I know physical fitness is something that you're really passionate about,
Mhm.
because when we did our first interview and I was so excited to have you, I was also nervous. He's really tall. I don't know if you can tell, like he's sitting here. I was doing a social media story the other day. I'm like, I'm bringing someone on. I don't know how they're going to fit on my set.
You didn't think I was going to fit on the couch?
I'm
That's
joking.
awesome.
I'm just like imagining. I'm like, how are we going to frame? Like, he's really tall.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I wonder, you know, you were talking about Muhammad Ali. I've listened to quite a few of your interviews over the last few days. You talk about integrity. You talk about, you know, living with this sense of purpose. And it sounds like it seems that inspiration from him, and perhaps with boxing, because I think whether you're an athlete or an artist or anyone who's like achieved a certain level of success in their life, it requires a certain amount of focus, dedication, and perseverance. Like talk, because that's what I see in you. So I want to hear about that.
I mean, my biggest thing is just feeding off of other people around me makes it tangible. Like Tom O'Pennickett's one of my best friends, and I remember when he went for the audition for Battlestar Galactica, and then he got it, and you know, his star started rising on one of the best shows I think sci-fi's ever found. And I got to see his success, which made it, there was no jealousy with it. It just made it tangible. It's like I can touch his arm and go like, you've made it. And it made it like that energy was just flowing. So I've never had that feeling of, you know, I want what that guy has, or I don't want him to have it, or I want it type of vibe. I never had that. I wasn't never angry about that. I just wanted to surround myself with successful, smart, and people with a lot of integrity, and just kind of try to move forward in that way. Because in all honesty, my brother's a doctor. He knew what he was going to do when he was 6 years old. I was finding my way through the world. I was just trying to figure it out. And
you were the rebel.
I was, but I was also just trying to find my feet. Like even in the band, I was going like, I was with four other people, and we had one goal in mind, but I was still trying to find my feet as a songwriter. And you know, I didn't do a lot of songwriting, but the band was together, and it was still uneven, because if the band ended, I was like, well, what do I do then? And I didn't consider myself a great musician. I just loved playing live, and I loved writing songs, but I wasn't really like 12 hours a day playing my bass guitar. I just loved live performances. So I was still trying to find my feet. Then when I found acting, and just, it was about me. It wasn't about four other dudes and me. It was just about me. And so it's like, make it or break it here. I can't hide behind the great singer and the amazing drummer. I had to find my feet. And that's when I really started exploring just, you know, the self-discipline, self-love, and putting yourself out there, and understanding that it's not you that's being judged. It's just somebody not liking the work, which is fine. So I think that was a huge thing. I don't think I can do anything else, because that was just my journey. I just wanted to share stories. That was my biggest thing, telling stories. And I didn't want to tell stories when I first started of, you know, bouncer number one and thug number two, because that's what I was getting. So I knew I had to explore and put myself on the line, put money on the line, spend money to just kind of not only have people see me in a different light than that, but prove to myself and put the energy out there. Tom and I did a short film that we paid for, and we decided to flip the roles, where I wasn't the bad guy and he wasn't the good guy, because that's what we always get.
Yeah.
So we flipped the roles, and energetically, even before it came out, he started getting roles that were bad guy roles. I started getting good guy roles. It's just because we put it out in the universe. So it was that kind of thing that I wanted to get doing, and just keep moving. And you know, we just did Gen Zeros, which was a show that we're putting together, and it's online, genzeros.com. And to be able to put something together and have all your friends, talented friends, be a part of it, sit back. I had a moment to sit back and watch the whole crew We had about 60 people on the crew, and the actors are working on their lines. And I just kind of sat back and took a moment of, we did this to the point where all these people are creating with us. That's the kind of thing that kind of drives me, for sure.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact for me, obviously I've seen you in all these different projects like iZombie and like Snowpiercer, Van Helsing, like most recently Fubar
Yeah.
My God. Did you meet Arnold? Like I just started watching the first episode, but I was on your IMDb and then seeing your social media stories.
Right.
Like, oh my God, you were in this project.
Yeah. Yeah. I met him. Do you want to hear that story?
Yes.
It's a little embarrassing. It's an embarrassing story, but I'll make it
Tell
quick.
us, please.
So I got there for wardrobe, and they were on set, and it was Arnold's last day. So I was like, I have no scenes with him, and I was like, I have to meet him. So I kind of hung around set longer than an actor should, because I was just there for wardrobe. And finally, I went to the AD and I said, hey man, is there a chance I know it's his last day, but if there's a chance, I would love to meet him. Like, I've been a fan since Pumping Iron and everything from there. I was right from the beginning. And he goes, you know what? He's in his trailer and he comes in through the back door of the studio with his truck. So why don't we go to the back and see if he'll do it? So now the truck pulls up and he goes out about 20 feet away, and he goes out and I see his mannerisms. Yeah, dude wants me. And Arnold's looking over his shoulder, and I'm just kind of kicking stones, just like doo-doo-doo. And so finally Arnold shakes his head, and the AD pulls me over, and he says, and he puts out his hand, and I said, Mr. Schwarzenegger, thank you so much for having me on the show. Like, I'm a huge fan of Pumping You and I mean Pumping Iron and he goes, whoa, you're a huge fan of Pumping Me? I went, no, Pumping Iron. And he goes, and he grabs me and goes, I don't go that way. And off he went laughing hysterically. And I'm just like trying to eat my words, trying to get them back into my mouth. And that was the exchange of him walking away laughing his head off. So yeah, it was a little embarrassing. Said that to Arnold.
That's amazing. I'm just laughing. I almost snorted on camera. That's amazing. I love it.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, how amazing, like people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and then Anthony Hopkins. Yesterday I was watching Zero Contact. I ran into you on the seawall during COVID, and you were talking about this project and how amazing it is, and you're doing it over Zoom. And any channel, any show, any cable, Netflix, whatever, I go, oh, there's Aleks Paunovic. And the fact that your name is right next to Anthony Hopkins, I was like, man.
It's mind blowing, and he's one of the kindest, most generous dudes I've ever met. And I worked on a film called Blackway with him first, and Rick Dugdale directed and produced Zero Contact. And he also produced Blackway. And when he asked me to be a part of this, Anthony Hopkins wasn't even in the picture. He just asked me during COVID, look, we're not doing anything. Do you want to shoot this Zoom movie? And I was like, I'm just sitting at home. Let's do it. So as the conversation was going and everything was happening, and I got Adrian Holmes and Rikia Bernard in the film, and it was great just to do something in such a mentally stressed time that we could be productive. And then at the end of the film, that character, Rick, said, I think Hopkins wants to do it because he also wants to be busy during COVID. So him coming onto the film and us kind of just being dropped into an Anthony Hopkins film. And I didn't even know about the poster. When I saw the poster, like, no one told me that I was going to be right next to Hopkins on the poster. So when I saw it, I kind of lost it. And it was one of those moments where you get a little emotional going, you work up to these type of moments. And now we're fortunate to, it came out with Lionsgate, it did some other stuff. And so we're off to do the second and third movie. The first movie was done all over Zoom. And then we're doing the trilogy. So the next two movies are Antarctica, Jordan, some amazing places in Europe. And that's where the story's going to take us, which is really exciting.
Do you love that? Like the traveling? Like, I remember when you were in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't been to Saudi Arabia yet. I mean, it's my part of the world, like being born in Pakistan.
Right.
And just seeing over the years the places with Comic-Cons and fan expos that how your world has expanded from like,
Yeah.
you know, Winnipeg, like given that your parents were from Serbia and Croatia,
Right.
but now you're living this global life and like you have these fans, including myself. How does that make you feel when you go to these different countries and these experiences you're having?
It's epic. I mean, when we were in Saudi, it was an amazing. Mike Bunley was the coordinator of it. And it was a beautifully run Comic Con, and there was a green room behind the signing table, and that's where everyone was. And I just didn't want to go back to the green room. I just walked the floor, and it was really interesting because they pay to get in, and it's not like a by picture. It's just an admittance, so they get in and whatever they want you sign, which I loved. And me going outside of the table and just walking the floor, I had so many people coming up to take pictures, and because some couldn't afford to go to the table, and I didn't mind at all because they were getting paid, they're already inside, no one's money is being taken away, and they get to save some money. So that to me was just a really great moment, that I got to walk the floor and have these amazing exchanges with a lot of people. And that was during the height of Hawkeye.
I know, that's what I wanted to talk about next.
Yeah.
Wow, it's so funny. Over the weekend, I was telling people, Aleks Paunovic. I kid you not a single person in the Vancouver film industry, when I say Aleks Paunovic, even though they may misspell your name.
Right, yeah.
They may misspell
your
fine. Name.
Yeah.
Or
my mom did it the other day, by the way. She sent me a text. I'm like, why'd you spell it with an X, Mom? Autocorrect, son, I'm sorry.
Like even, you know, on our show, like one of our program managers, they're like, I worked with him on Shipment. I was just a ditch.
Awesome.
Please say hi.
That's
He's
awesome.
amazing. He may not remember me.
That's
so
awesome.
Everyone has like a story about you, and you know, people are like, wow, he did Hawkeye, Marvel. He's like, you know, up there. His star is shining bright.
Yeah.
So tell me about Hawkeye.
It was an awesome experience, but the thing was, even the audition, because it's so full of secrecy, that the audition came in just as an untitled project, and it was 4 pages of me doing the Eastern European accent, which I do all the time. But I was up for another movie that had a huge like a 6-page monologue that I had to memorize, and I had to get them both in at the same time. So I literally was going, I don't want to do this one untitled one. I want to do this other one. So I was putting all my work into that, and I told my management, and they said, look, they really want to see you. Can you just put it on tape? I was like, fine. So I worked with a friend of mine, Mark Hildreth, and we,
I know Mark.
Yeah, Mark's great. And so we ran it a couple times. He gave me a few notes, and we did it once. And I was like, what do you think? He goes, I think that's great. We just did it once. I spent maybe 6 minutes on it, and then spent the next hour working on this other thing. And then I got the call like 3 days later from my manager, when my manager and my agent called me at the same time. That's always good news. And I was like, I picked up the phone all cocky. I went, I got the other thing, right? I got that thing. He goes, no, you booked Marvel. I went, when the hell did I audition for Marvel? Why didn't you tell me it was, when did I audition? He goes, no, you booked Marvel. I go, that untitled thing? And they go, yeah. So this is when you're flying out. This is when you're doing 6 episodes. I'm like, this is insane. So I had no idea what I was auditioning for. And then obviously getting there and it was just over 6 months in Atlanta, New York. And, you know, it was a highlight. Like, we were running the streets of New York at 3 o'clock in the morning. Everything's shut down, you know, shooting guns. And like in New York, that to me is great. I've never worked there before. And Atlanta was an amazing place to be. And it was again during COVID. So we really had to keep tight. So it was over 6 months of working with an amazing team. So I had a blast. And then when everything came out and how the Tracksuit Mafia was perceived, and we had our own little, like, it wasn't supposed to be the way it was. We were just supposed to be there and have a cool role. But the synergy that Piotr and Carlos and I had when we first met, and we just started working on scenes, and we brought more to the table than was actually on the script. And then they started promoting us even more. And that's just a testament to like 3 dudes that just loved working what we were doing, and it became more than what it was. So that was really exciting. It was cool.
That's so massive.
Yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about, me and Tiara, my camera op co-producer, we're like, Okay, can we get away without talking about his height and stature? Because every interview,
Yeah.
one of the integral pieces, but
Well, in the first interview, you were on a box.
I know. I
We
was.
got you an apple box. It was so awesome.
Standing, he was like up there.
And I'm like, now we're the same height. Everyone's gonna go, she's huge.
I'm gonna stand. I'm sitting up
Sitting
tall.
up, I'll scrunch. I'll scrunch.
I wanna. It's fascinating that you mentioned earlier about Tamo and his success with Battlestar. Like one of my friends booked this J.J. Abrams show, HBO Max, and filming in New Mexico, and they're gonna come on my show as well, and they've had like a nice career. And I was so proud. His name is Benjamin Watson. I was so proud of him when he booked this. I was like, I feel like that's like my success. And at the time, I had taken a little bit of break. I had kind of a day job during COVID, and I was so happy. I'm like, I don't know why, but it makes me feel like your success is my
That's
success.
the tangibility.
Yes.
That's the thing that feels so great.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the way that my friend built me up. What I want to ask you is, once you book a project like this, or the not Zero Contact, but the other project with Anthony Hopkins, like once the initial excitement and high wears off and happiness and joy, where do you go? Like for me, I have moments of like,
imposter syndrome, right?
yeah, are they gonna like find me out?
Yeah.
Are they going to be like, is this a thing? Like, just don't be too happy.
Did they make the wrong choice? Did all that stuff.
Like I go through, don't be too happy, don't be too anything, just like, be contain I want to hear, because I see you as a very successful actor, successful human being, like you do a lot of self-care, a lot of internal care, external care. How do you deal with those little voices or inner demons or things that may try to bring you down?
You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. They're always there. And it's always tough to navigate. It's very tough to navigate because not only, he's always there. The negative dude on your shoulder is always there. And, man, that's just such a tough one to navigate at times. There's times that I do when, working out is the thing that helps. Being around good people, therapy, all of that helps because the whole imposter syndrome is a real thing. And for people that say that it isn't there, I just say you're lying because it's always there. And navigating it, everyone's got their different way of doing it. For me, is like being around good people and staying in the present. Being in the present is the hardest thing to do. Like right now, as we're talking, I'm thinking about my parking. Why am I thinking about my parking? So, and as we're talking there, once in a while, I'll go, as you're telling me this stuff, I'll go, I don't know when I'm going to work again. Like all that stuff, but I'm not living in the present. Right now, this is an amazing moment, and this is where I should be. And that you always have to catch yourself. So I go back and forth quite a bit, but when I'm present, it's the most beautiful thing. And when it just sits in your soul, that's the most beautiful thing, and that's the goal I always try to achieve to get to. I love to prepare. I love to work. I love to think ahead. I love to have a retrospect where what I've done before can I learn from. All of that is helpful stuff, but being in the present, that's been the toughest thing, to really sit and enjoy it. Like when you were saying about booking a gig, your brain just goes to, am I going to have these lines down? Am I going to make the right choices? All of that. But once you sit, the repetition, the offering, instead of giving them what you think they need, giving them your gift, and that's all you can do, and be present in that. It's a roller coaster. I'm not one to preach about it. I'm just one to say that I'm just a soldier, in this world of just try and stay present and stay appreciative of what I have. But it's always a struggle, and you just got to find. I think the biggest thing is you got to find the things that work for you. Is it a nature walk? Is it motivational videos on YouTube, which I go to a lot, and just having great people around. I think that's the biggest one. Having great people around that you can talk to about this, like this.
Yeah, no, this is inspiring for me, and like I said, selfishly bringing you on here. In your bio on IMDb, it mentions Larry Moss, and in a few other interviews I've listened to of yours, you talk about Larry Moss, you talk about Danny and the Deep Blue Sea, that how those were some of the defining points in your career, and how Larry singled you out and said that for you to go deeper with your work and not just being this idea of who they want you to see, who they want you to portray. So tell me about, like, I love Larry's book. I haven't really worked with him.
I've had other instructors where they're very they have more of a headstrong attitude and attitude way of teaching. I'm more a physical and emotional actor. And I have friends that really excelled at this more heady type of acting. I was struggling when I was starting, because I started late. I started at 35. So when I was doing it and I had that opportunity to work with this acting coach, I just couldn't grasp it. I couldn't be myself. And then when Larry came along, I was just blown away, intimidated, but also blown away of like, oh my God, this is the language that speaks to me to get the best work out of me. And but I was nervous, and I go to the thing where, like I said, when I play bass, I'm not a very good player, but I'm a great entertainer. I feel like I'm really great live. And so it was the same when I dipped into acting and just trying to feel it out. I would learn the line, but I wasn't really deep in the lines, but I was like out there. And it wasn't authentic, and he caught it. And he said one of the most epic things to me that changed everything around. And and I talked to him that I used to play in a band, and that's all I said to him. I used to play in a band. And then 300 people are sitting there while we're doing the scene, and he stops the scene in the middle, and he said, "Alex, you told me that you played in a band." And again, now I'm again nervous, but so I'm trying to be funny. "You played in a band?" I went, "Yeah," and I kind of did that, and people started laughing. "You told me that you played," he said, "I'm guessing, no offense to anybody in the crowd, but I'm guessing you played bass." And I went, "Yeah, I did." Everyone started laughing, and he yelled, "Quiet," just yelled, "Quiet." And he looked up at me and he said, "How dare you play a poorly played bass when you have an orchestra inside you?" And I just lost it, because he was absolutely, it hit my core. He was absolutely right. He started berating me, saying, you're ripping off everyone in this audience with not the best that you can give at telling this story. They're sitting here wanting to see something special, and you're not authentic, and you're just playing. And I don't want to see that. You're wasting people's money. And he challenged me, and I did a scene from Danny and the Deep Blue Sea. And no, I did another scene, and then he challenged me to do Danny and the Deep Blue Sea in the scene.
And this is before you put the play on.
Yeah. And he said, so when I did it the next time around and I put everything into it, he was so upset that I haven't done that play yet. He goes, it was a beautiful moment. He said, "I've seen a lot of people do this role on Broadway, and you're one of the best." And that to me gave me so much confidence. Again, made me emotional. And it was the moment where I felt like I needed to do it. It took me a while to get it. I think it was like 5 years before I actually did it, because that's how scared I was of it. And Jason Good, who directed me in the play, when we were getting it together, he said, he goes, "Well, what about if we do it this month?" I go, "Oh, I think I'm going to Los Angeles, do pilot season." I'm just trying to get away from it and make excuses. And then finally he called me. He goes, "Okay, write this." He goes, "Write this on your Facebook post. And we're doing this play." He got the dates for the theater, and it's going to be May something. And we wrote the dates in. And he goes, we're going to hit send at the same time that we're doing this play, and then you can't back out." So he cornered me, and then right when I hit send, that was it. We were on our way. And then during rehearsals was a huge pivotal moment, because I was auditioning. I wasn't booking anything. I was getting small roles, but not really booking anything big. Really was tough on my wallet, just paying rent and bills. And then I booked a really big show during rehearsals. It was 10 episodes on a show. And it wasn't a big acting show for me, but because it was in what they call a bottle episode, so it was all in a jail, so I would be playing an inmate, so I would have to be there all those episodes. But it wasn't really challenging. It was just good for my wallet, because it was a primetime show. And so I had Danny and Deep Blue Sea, and I had this money gig that I can finally pay some bills, and then some. And if I said no to Danny, that they would have to get somebody, I don't think I would ever had that opportunity again. And I felt if I did Danny, then I'm either going to expose myself that I can't do this, or I'm gonna be inspired that I can do anything after I do this play. But with this, I'm just going to be back to the same spot. I'm not getting the gigs because I haven't really shown myself. So, to my agent's chagrin, I decided not to do the gig, and I stayed with doing Danny. And it ended up being the best thing because I haven't stopped working since then. And I feel like that wouldn't have happened if I took that other gig. So it was one of those moments where either shit or get off the pot. One of those things, you got to do it, or you just got to leave it if you're not going to be like at your best.
That's so amazing, and it's so inspiring. I hope moments like that happen for me. I did a play / workshop presentation earlier this year, and I had booked a thing which was supposed to be a couple of days, but then it was like, okay, just a day thing, and it was on the opening night, and they were selling tickets to this, so I felt terrible to say no. That's honestly so inspiring because it makes me think of the burn the boats. The fact that you're like, no, I'm digging deep, I'm diving in. I want to focus on being an actor and doing something I'm truly, truly passionate about. And then it's so difficult to say no to money when you know you're going to get this money, you're going to get these residuals, and you're seeing the numbers, the zeros.
It was, but I just knew that this was my crossroads.
Yeah.
Like this is my first play. It's a beast of a play. Laurie Triolo was absolutely amazing in helping me, and same with like John Cassini came in and helped me amazingly. All these amazing things happened that were like either you're going to jump off the hill or you're going to walk back. And I kind of wanted to jump to see, can I do this? I knew I could, but that was the opportunity for me to really kind of push myself off the ledge. Am I an authentic actor, or am I just in it for the money?
What do you think your personality or inner trait wise has been a thing that has contributed towards your success? Is there something in particular that you can say, or something that you have become more like over the years, like a personality trait that you feel this is what sets you apart, or this is what's helped you excel even your own ideas of success?
What a great question. I honestly, I've always felt like, because of my family, especially my mom and my brother, who are very successful and hard driven in doing what they want to do, it was the persistence for me of like, I'm putting this is what I'm choosing to do, and I'm gonna give it its all. So the persistence for me was a big thing. And watching my dad do jobs that he didn't really like, but he did it for the family. The other thing for me was whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna love doing it, and I want everybody around me to love doing it also, and inspire them while I'm doing it. That's why I love doing Van Helsing so much, was because there was such an amazing crew, and their crew are usually told not to talk to anybody because an actor may be really concentrating on their method and their things, so they're told not to kind of talk to the actors. And it's same with extras, and I just don't believe in that. I believe in including everybody, and there's the dude working his ass off as a grip, and I want him to know it, so I tell him, awesome job, let's go grab lunch. And like, I love that, sharing that energy and lifting people up. I think that's one of the things that I love, is the team atmosphere. And that's what it was like in my band. Like, I kept the guys together and we worked through things. The band could have been over, 3 months in, but I just love that unit, and I love that we were making great music. So I found ways, for us to work out our differences, because a lot of bands go through that. And same happens on the movie. So for me, I think it was the thing of persistence and just the teamwork. I love teamwork. I love everyone involved. I'll sacrifice stuff for me not to do, so other people can do it, just so we can keep on moving forward and they have that experience. I love that stuff.
You're a people person.
Yeah. very much so.
not just like in terms of like your peers, but bringing everyone in. You were in Japan. I know we talked about this before we were filming, and we spoke about it a little bit earlier. I want to talk about that experience. Like, how cool is it? Like, you're not just working here in Vancouver, in LA, in Atlanta, like, you work across North America, but you're going to a different country where I bet you're the tallest. You could be like, oh, where's Aleks? He's right there.
Everyone had an apple box to stand on to talk. Yeah.
What was that experience like, and how long were you there for? And was that your first trip to Japan? Can you talk about this project?
Yeah, it was my second trip to Japan. First trip, I actually went with Tomo, and we were watching a buddy fight in a fighting championship there. But it was different going there for work, and being offered this role. It's called the Secret Silence. It's based on a manga TV show that was in the 80s that they're making into live action now. I played Admiral Steiger, who was a 5-star admiral, and but just to get the offer to be a part of this project, it was the feature. I think is coming out in September, and it was really, really exciting to know that I earned it through the years of work that I've done. It came out of nowhere, beautiful offer.
And you didn't even audition for it?
No, it was great. It was just, it was my reputation, which was awesome. And in Japan, they really like looking at interviews and looking at like your reel that they can find on YouTube. So they see how you act with promoting and what your energy is that way, and then and the other work that you've done. So that's what got me the gig, which was just awesome for me. And you good? And but yeah, going there, being a part of it, not having, we had a translator. We were working on other things with the show of how to build a character and what ideas they were having. So it was just it was an amazing experience to go there, to work on a pretty high level show for them. Amazon, I think, did it, and I don't know, man. It was just a really cool experience. Mostly other gigs. Again, we talked about the imposter syndrome. This was one where I just felt like, yeah, this is 20 years of really hard work that I deserve, and that's a really nice moment.
That's amazing, and congratulations. I'm sure there's a lot of like actors, and you're talking about Ben Ratner. The Ratner just comes out, but it's Ben Emmanuel. He was on our show.
Right.
He was in the first episode.
Ben Emmanuel, that's right.
Know.
We'll edit that.
Yeah.
Ben Emmanuel.
But it was great having him. He was on the first episode and talked about, being a boxer and art and painting and all those things. But I'm sure there's a lot of actors watching the show, like being in the biz. I'm always curious about other people who found success, how they prep. Like, what is your method? I'm sure, there's people who are, like, taking the scripts to the toilet anywhere, everywhere. Like, I want to hear what you get in an audition tonight. How do you prep? And it's due tomorrow afternoon. Like, what is your method?
Try to put it off as long as I can.
I do the same.
Right? It's like, I'll get to that. And then you start panicking a little bit.
Does the panic help you? I feel the panic helps me.
You know what? It does to push you towards it. And I hate it, but it always happens for me. But then when I decide, what I've learned was I just try to read it like 5 or 6 times without working on it. I don't want to work on it. I'm just going to read it, just going to read it, just going to read it. And then I'll read it slower just so I can really kind of feel it. I don't want to work on anything just yet. I'm not going to work on accents. I'm not going to work on motivation. I just want to read it, and then I put it away. Now it's kind of logged in, and then I get to do a little bit of things. Usually I'll hit the treadmill just to get the lines in, and then I start making my choices once the lines are in. I don't try to make choices. It's really easy to fall into because you literally read it and go, oh, this is how I can do it, and I try to stay away from that. I need to get the lines in, and I also like to keep room for improv, not to discredit the writer, but just to kind of like put myself into the role. I won't like totally change anything. I'll just pepper it with Aleks. And that only happens when I actually have the lines down. And again, I'm a internal kind of whatever I feel. My body has to be into it. Like my body has to recognize what's going on. If my body and the words don't communicate together, then I still feel like I'm floating. But my body has to be in it. That's why I really enjoy doing it on the treadmill, because my body keeps moving. And then I try to settle when I do the dialogue, and that's how I kind of get around it and kind of get into it. But I like to, like one or two auditions or takes where I just throw everything out the window, and whatever happens in the moment. I love capturing stuff that I couldn't capture if it was so much repetition. If I knew exactly what I was going to be doing, I just like to throw it out there and hopefully it sticks.
It's interesting that you, along with a few other people, you kind of hinted at this earlier, and a few other actors and people, whether they're a performer, as a motivational speaker, or whatever, a musician, they've said, and I think you alluded this to earlier, is that there's no one who has your energy. Because I feel, for me, when I was younger, I was in the trap of who do they want me to be? You know, and to be honest, this has only come over the last year or two, that being me is enough.
Yeah.
And I that still goes away and comes back. You know, it goes away and comes back. And then it's like, well, what am I? Who am I? You know, something that was coming to me while speaking to you, it's so amazing to see, you know, a Caucasian male sitting here talking about feelings, you know, talking as actors, as artists, we get to dig deep. And, you know, you're talking about therapy earlier. What was COVID like for you? What was, you know, it sounds like doing some of that inner healing work has been part of your journey.
Oh yeah, man. Like I think there's no way you can get away from childhood trauma, whatever trauma that is. Every trauma is different. There's things that resonate with you that, you know, somebody may have said when you're 12 years old that now it's always in the back of your mind. It changed your schematic a little bit because you were so offended or felt judged. There's always little things to work on. And I feel like that's the toolbox. But the only way I can get to the tools if I can recognize it and I can call it something and I know what that's a hammer, as opposed to that thing that was shaped funny. I don't know what that is, but now that I know what it is, it can go in my toolbox. That's the kind of stuff, and it's just exposing. Like there's a lot of people out there that, you know, work a 9 to 5 that don't need to kind of delve into their self-exploration. But when they sit there and watch me on a movie hitting those emotional beats, I know they feel it. I know they go through that stuff. They may not say it externally, but internally they're feeling all that stuff. We're all human. We're all going to go through it. So that's the joy that I get from it. And for COVID, it was, you know, I think it was rough for everyone. Everyone went through their moments of, you know, despair, and you know, you fall into these moments of, you know, what's going to happen after this? Am I going to have a career after this? I mean, what's life going to be like after this? So I just think, again, I'll go back to friends that you can talk to and just share this kind of stuff with. And, you know, we've had so many conversations, we get pretty deep in a lot of things. And that, I find that a joy. I find that so uplifting, and it helps my work all the time. All the time it helps my work. So I think opening up and just trying to find, I always go back to it. Just find your crew, you know, have a good crew.
I love that. And I also just want to say, I'm not sure, you worked with Anthony Hopkins like a few times, and, you know, hopefully future projects too. But he didn't really have his success till later. And that was something I was thinking of earlier when you mentioned that. Because he was that person too. And I don't even know what is his age now, 80 something,
Yeah,
90.
he's 87, I think, 87,
Wow.
88. So vibrant.
And
So
he has this zest for life, this vitality,
yeah.
this energy. And I remember during the lockdown, he would, the piano, which is the same as
Yeah,
Zero Contact.
yeah.
I was like, oh, that shot.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
he
that's
used
his
to.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's his house.
And then he's on the piano, and I follow his Instagram
Yeah.
and social media, and
Yeah.
it's just
It's
he has
full
this
of life.
joie de vivre,
Well, when we sat down and spoke, which again blew me away. We were sitting down and talking, and he asked me, he goes, "You're a big lad. What's your sport?" I said, "Boxing." He goes, "Oh, I love boxing." And we started talking about boxing, and he was telling me how he wasn't a very nice dude back in the day, and he got into a lot of fights, and that whole thing. He goes, but now, he goes, there's no need for any of that. He goes, but it takes you a while to get past all of that to actually just be full of joy, and that's it. That's all you need. But we all go through that. You can preach it to whoever you want. You have to go through it before you actually feel it. And whatever that is for everybody else. I mean, I was the same way. I would, I'll be playing in my band just looking for a fight, and it's one of those things of you realize that it's not a part of you. It's just a thing that you think is masculine, which is not masculine at all.
For me, it's so much more masculine to hear you talk about your feelings and therapy and self-care and breathing and being in the moment. Because even as you say that, I was like, I'm holding my breath. Okay, breathe.
Right.
And that's just so amazing. And I feel like these days now with podcasts, like, men are getting to have these conversations. But, as actors, we're lucky. We get to have this, but not out there.
But also, I mean, when I was in my 20s, I didn't have this easy accessibility to like, it was all frowned upon. If like you were just supposed to have your stuff together. And for me, I knew I had these moments, especially in my 20s, of wanting to open up, but it just wasn't acceptable back then. And I grew up in a family that wasn't acceptable back then. So that's all I knew. And as time went on, I just got so much relief and glee in the actor community, where this is where your toolbox is. That's where I felt like this is the job I want to do. This is how I want to tell stories. I want to open up and just kind of like, if I'm not showing an authentic emotion and deep feeling, then the audience isn't going to buy it. So my whole thing is just trying to be as authentic and have a blast in this life. I just want to have a good time. I want to be able to have people feel things when they watch my work, and just kind of try to move forward to make a difference and have a blast.
For the actors watching, I know this is a cliche question. I'm imagining I'm James Lipton right now.
I love it. I love it.
Inside Zara's actor studio. Erin Karpluk, I had her here last week. So she's like, "You're James Lipton." I'm like, I know.
I love her. Erin's awesome.
Yeah. What advice or just words of encouragement would you give to an actor or anyone trying to break into the entertainment industry?
I had this conversation with a couple of people. And what I've learned is you have to love it. That's where it starts. If you're going in to be famous, if you're going in for the money, if you're going in for clout, it's going to fall by the wayside. You have to love it. You have to love storytelling. And you have to know, like for me, I knew when I was doing, bouncer number 2, and even though I'm in the spot, everything in me is going, I'm more than bouncer number 2. I knew I was going to be in this position, but I knew I had to get through all of that. I had to get my road work in before I got to the fight and I got to the championship. That's how I looked at it. You have to train for a 12-round fight. You have to train 12,000 rounds to be just ready for a 12-round fight. So for me, that's all the road work. Do you love it enough to do the road work? That's to me the biggest thing. If you don't love it enough to do the road work, then it's probably not for you. So you got to love it.
Gotta love it. Hard work, persistence, and
Joy.
yeah, and have that vision because I feel that's the true line that I see in your work and in your career and your success.
Also, saying yes. That was my biggest thing. I said yes to almost everything. And it always...
Like today.
Yes, exactly. Like
I'm
today.
like on Instagram, Facebook. Hey, Alex. Hi. Hey, AP.
Yeah.
I'm like texting you. I'm like, I don't even know if this is your number. I'm like, and me. I'm like, do I have his email?
Yeah.
Send him all pictures, yo. You need to like remember me.
No, you're unforgettable. But yes, it's saying yes. Like I've said yes so many times. And there's stuff that I wish I didn't say yes to, but I learned something from it for the next time. And there's stuff that I said yes to that became one of the best things ever. I mean, Zero Contact. If I would have said, we're just getting a few actors together to do this Zoom movie. You know what? It's COVID. I don't want to work right now. But I said yes, and all of a sudden Anthony Hopkins is in it, and it just takes off, and now we're doing 2 more movies. So say yes.
You said Antarctica like this.
Antarctica. We got
like...
to shoot in Antarctica. That's the craziest bit. There's no Hollywood scripted feature ever shot in Antarctica.
Oh my God.
The craziest thing is when we landed, even the director, Rick, was saying from other people, because you're going to get emotional. There's something about that part of the world that's very emotional. And right when I was super excited. I was seeing us land just on ice. There's no airport. We land on ice. And I was excited. We're all bundled up and I was excited. I wasn't even thinking about anything but just how cool this is. And once I touched and the crunch of the boots, I started getting emotional. And that's exactly what they said was going to happen. I was just like, I can't believe I'm actually working here. Not just here, but working here. Being asked to work and shoot a movie here. That to me, and then just the emotion of it. I've been very, very blessed. And I think I'm just looking forward to the next year.
That's so amazing. I mean, I could talk to you forever. Like, I feel like I want to ask, like, have you had these pinch me moments? But it sounds
all
like
the time.
Sometimes, like, I see your pictures and costumes, like Van Helsing, Eyes on, Snowpiercer, and I was watching Snow. I was like, that's my friend. Like yesterday, I kept trying to, like, I've just got a TV. I worked in television for so never, and I'm trying to pause it to take a picture and tag you. I'm like, how do I do this? You're like all over my screen.
That's awesome.
That's so amazing. Now, the show is Inspired Life Vancouver. What inspires you in life, Aleks Paunovic?
Connection inspires me. Every connection is a different story, and you go on this different story with every different people, and that's what inspires me. Just meeting people and having great friends around, because everything's going to happen after that.
What's for you next? I know you're the next 2 films. Like, is one of those projects happening this year?
Yeah. So we go and shoot with Anthony Hopkins for the 2nd and 3rd film starting in August.
Did you see how you casually said that?
Yeah, I did.
Anthony Hopkins. Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony Hopkins. Actually, it's Tony to me. Me and Tony. Yo, Tone. Oh, God, if I ever said that to him. Yo, Tone. That's the really cool thing. And Rick Dugdale has been such an inspiration for me. He's such an amazing producer. He's been doing it for a while, and he's really brought me along in a producing aspect of it, of just showing me the ropes. And that's something that I love to do, because like I said, Gen Zeros is something that I'm executive producing and starring in, and we're just loving the journey that's going on. So he's taught me how to kind of deal with different aspects like that. And he's the one directing and producing the next 2 films. And then there's another film I'm going to do with him, hopefully at the end of the year or beginning of next year. So it's looking great. I'm really excited. That's
amazing. That's like your 2023 going into 2024.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah. I'm trying to do this to bring some of this energy. Reiki. What do you love about living in Vancouver? Because you've spent time in LA and stuff, but Vancouver is home.
Vancouver is definitely home. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world, especially when the sun's out. And I think this is where my tribe is. I really love I love going to LA and spending time in different cities, but there is just something about this city and the people in the city that just energize me, and I'm in love with this city and the people.
Is there a particular spot in Vancouver that you like to go to, or like, I mean, surrounding areas, to get inspired, to ground yourself, like, you know?
I mean, you and I both know the dogs, right? So my dog Brando, I'd go for a hike with him and throw the ball, and this city has so much beautiful greenery and trails that you kind of get lost and you get inspired. And watching I mean, I'm a dog dad now, and here's the deal. You watch a dog, they're so present. It drops you right in. My dog the other day was looking at a bird, and just like the bird was the most important thing in the world. I want to look at a bird like that, and he's teaching me how to do that, and I want to do that with everything. So this city and just the energy and the people of this city, I just feel like it's just my tribe.
That's amazing. I love it too. I know living in Paris before and coming
Right,
back here,
that's
like,
right.
you know, the body of water, mountains,
Yeah.
hikes, everything. Aleks could have you here for hours. You know,
I could
know
be
that-
here for hours.
You know, and he has. If you get a parking ticket, man, I hope you don't get a ticket. Honestly, I'm so inspired talking to you. I hope you guys are inspired. If you are, let us know. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. You're a rock star.
You're
like,
the
you know,
best.
like
10 years
just,
ago we did this.
I know. Yeah, I think like honestly, over 10 years ago, it was 2023. It was 2011.
2011.
2011. Yeah. Well, it's like a long time. So
That's a solid friendship right
yeah,
there.
yeah, totally. Yeah, you're amazing. Like
You are
this
too.
it's just so amazing to see someone that I know have this success and be as inspiring and humble and reachable, and you know, it fills my heart with joy when I see you at these fan expos, and I'm like, Saudi Arabia, what? Is this a joke? What, is this real? Is this some fan making an art? So no, he's there for real.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Oh,
Really
thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
That's the one right there.